The weather outside on the evening of Thursday, March 7th, 2019, in Smithfield, North Carolina, was chilly. However, the courthouse was red hot. And I don't just mean that in political terms either. The courthouse that the Johnston County 2019 Republican Party convention was in was, man, that courtroom was, I was sweating like a bear. Ooh boy. So this convention here is in Johnston County, which is part of the red wall that separates Raleigh from, the liberal city of Raleigh from the rural Republican North Carolina. Okay. In this convention, I have to tell you that compared with Forsyth County, I felt so much more welcomed, and I just felt that everybody had a much more had just a better attitude, better, nicer, laid back, but not too laid back, but just, the chair said hi to me, shook my hand. He didn't come over and question me like Brian Miller did in Forsyth County, and I will tell you also that the registration told him I was a guest. Didn't have to show my voter registration card, but I still recommend that if you're a guest and you go to these conventions and they're not in your county or district, you still want to make sure you have that card because you never know, okay? But I was told the registration fee was $2, but I didn't have to pay that. That was just for the delegates. So Johnston County, they really treat the guest like yes, they really treat you with good Southern hospitality. Didn't have to pay a $2 fee. I used that $2, by the way, to get a hamburger and a Diet Coke at McDonald's on the way home. So yeah, still money well spent, I would say. So the convention started. Johnston County, they really do things quite efficiently, I will say. Well, after all, they are a conservative county, I will say, so they should do things in a conservative, efficient manner, I should say. They started with the precinct meetings at 6:45 p.m. It took 15 minutes for the meetings, unlike here in Guilford, it took us like an hour. But I digress. Basically, the chairman just said, this is the precinct meetings, have at it. So you fill out your paperwork and everything and do what you gotta do. The meeting started at 7:05 p.m. that night. The chairman of the convention, quote-unquote master of ceremonies for the evening, was Paul Holcomb, who's a district court judge, represents Johnston, Harnett, and Lee County for district court. And he did a really good job. I'm having trouble really trying to find out who did a better job. Was it him or Scott Cumby who did a better job of proceedings? They both did very good. But then again, the master of ceremonies at these conventions is kind of like the long snapper in a football game. You don't talk about them a whole lot. But if a kicker misses a field goal, guess who they blame first besides a kicker? The long snapper, right? If a convention doesn't go smoothly, guess who they're going to probably point the finger at? Not necessarily the chairman of the GOP, but the convention chairman. So it's an important role. But Judge Holcomb did a very good job of keeping the convention moving smoothly, and but also, if he had a thought, he was very quick, but interjected a little wisdom along the way too. But he didn't try to be bigger than the convention himself. Okay, first on the speakers list, it was Elissa Chu, who is the legislative assistant to State Senator Jim Bergen, who's in District 12, Harnett and Johnston County. Basically, Jim Bergen's piece. He has a piece of legislation that would make military and active and retired military not pay state income tax in North Carolina, which is pretty cool. Of course, it'd be even better if nobody would pay income tax in North Carolina anymore, too. Hopefully, we'll continue to head in that direction, especially after we get the Cooper Pooper out, hopefully in 2020. Then we hear from State Senator Rick Horner, who represents most of his district is in Nash County, but he was allowed to speak at the Johnston County Convention because his district is Clayton as well, which is probably the biggest city in Johnston County. Well, I know it's the fastest growing city in the county, at least. But Senator Horner is also chairman of the Local Government Association, which deals with a lot of school zoning issues, which he said definitely can involve a lot of red tape. And he's also on the Appropriations Committee. And if you don't know what the word appropriations is, and you listen to this, and you have listened to this video blog, stop right now, go look it up. I do not want to explain to you what appropriations is, okay? Really. Okay, it's money and budgeting, but yeah, you get my drift. Okay. Then we had heard from Representative Strickland, Representative White, Representative John Bell. They talked about a school safety bill that just passed the House by 112-0, okay? And then we heard from a couple county commissioners. Should be noted that in Johnston County, all the county commissioners are Republican. Okay, we heard from We heard from Butch Lauder. Okay, who represents District 7 in the Clayton area. And he says, he gave out his phone number, said call him anytime, drop by his house. But he said, don't drop by for at least a week, though, because the wife might not have the house clean. He said that things are looking good in Johnston County, but the western part of the county, Clayton area, is getting a little purple, so be careful. And then talked about economic development. They just passed a $380 million economic incentive bill that's going to bring 3,000 new jobs to Johnston County. And it should be noted that 49% of Johnston County leaves the county every day for work. Where do you think Johnston County, these 49% go? Most of them probably go to Raleigh, up I-40. That is why that portion of I-40 is very heavily congested, and why the DOT is going to start in the next couple of years widening that from 4 to 6 lanes. They're also, county commissioners working on putting school resource officers in all the middle schools. Okay. Next, we heard from Teresa Grant, who's on the local school board. She says Johnston County is a growing county that has capacity challenges, but they're trying to do the best we can. They just passed a county bond referendum in the 2018 election, approved by the voters for one new middle school to be built. And then Ronald Johnson, who's a young star in the local party, I should say. He's only 34 years old, but he already has many years as a school resource officer. He's also a business professor, too. He's on the local school board, too. He says, people are trying to come on campus every single day to try to disrupt the learning environment. And he was looking out in the crowd and said, a lot of people, a lot of students and a lot of young people in the crowd were shaking their heads like, yeah, that's a problem with the schools. We got to have school safety. Okay. Next, we have the highlight of the evening. Where do I begin with this? The lieutenant governor's race for 2020 is going to be very interesting. Why do I say that? Because one of the candidates is Renee Elmers. Yeah, that Renee Elmers, Miss Tea Party activist turned rhino, Renee Elmers. And her speech makes you think that she got amnesia and forgot about the 6 years that she spent stabbing the Tea Party right in the back. Just wants to make you think that 6 years in Congress never happened. Cue the Unsolved Mysteries music, please. I mean, really, yeah. If Unsolved Mysteries did a segment on politics, they would have Renee Elmers' political amnesia. Tonight, the case of Renee Elmers. What in the world happened? She was Tea Party, and then she's Rhino, and then she goes to Atlanta for a couple of years, and now she wants to come back and get another political job in North Carolina, apparently. She says she's forming an exploratory committee for lieutenant governor, and she's continuing to pray on it and seek guidance. Okay. Now, let me tell you this, Renee. Things between you and God are things between you and God. But my advice to you is from the old song, "Just Walk Away, Renee." Yeah, you know that song, right? But in her speech, she talked about healthcare, of course. She talked about how she went to this hands-off healthcare bus tour when Obamacare was started to be implemented. But she was an appointee of the Trump administration to work at the Health and Human Services, one of their regional offices in Atlanta. And she says she got to see how 8 other states have solved their health care problems, and she believes that as lieutenant governor, she can solve the health care problem here in North Carolina. So we'll see about that. And in addition to health care, she wants to focus on education, workforce development, and veterans. Okay, now we have Secretary of State candidate Michael LaPaglia. Says, look, Elaine Marshall has got to go, and that she has signed off on notaries for 325 illegal aliens. If that doesn't make you want to vote against Elaine Marshall, I don't know what I can say that will. I mean, really, that's scary stuff right there, folks. Then we have Robert Andrews, who's speaking on behalf of Robin Hayes, running for state party chair. He says, look, 2020 is a Super Bowl, and we need steady, strong leadership and the right temperament. And then he talked about John Lewis running for vice chair. John Lewis has been chairman of Cabarrus County GOP. He's also been chair of the 8th District GOP. He's also been assistant general counsel, and he's now the new legal counsel that was appointed by the elected by the executive committee back on February the 9th to serve the now deceased Tom Stark. Oh yeah, and he also mentioned John Lewis has served on the Board of Elections, so he has worn many hats in the Republican Party. Okay, now there's our buddy Jim Womack, and he says, look, over the last 2 years, North Carolina has lost 10,000 registered Republicans. Yet the state grew by over 100,000 voters, right? The voter rolls and population grew. But he says that trend can be changed quickly. And he says just like over the last couple of years, too, the Republican Party has become number 3. Instead of number 2 in North Carolina. Unaffiliated are now number 2 behind the Democrats. But he talked about wants to use YouTube and Facebook to really, advertise the party out there. And he says, look, we got people walking away from the Democrats, but we need them to walk to the GOP. And he says he wants to change the party from a top-down party to a bottom-up party. And I could not agree more with him on that. I salute Jim Womack, definitely. He says he has $100 million in IT sales over the years. He wants to provide people with the resources and not guard the resources away from the party activists. He says he wants going to work with Hal Weatherman because it says social media presence is very weak right now by the party. He also talks about synchronicity and battle synchronicity, and he wants to create an economy of scale for the Council of State and the judicial races, and make sure that those races are not taken lightly, and also in the financial context, not taken lightly by the state party. And then we have Jake Johnston, who's running for Secretary of State. He is from Polk County, which just recently won the title of #1, the best school system in the state of North Carolina, in little rural Polk County. And he said, and he's been running Polk County without raising taxes, but increasing education spending while doing that. And people were so impressed by him, despite the fact he's very young. He's probably like my age, maybe a couple years younger. He just a couple years, last year was appointed to the chair of the county commissioners. Okay, and then we have a video that was done by Dan Forrest. Okay, basically he says that he got 65% of the vote in Johnston County, but he needs to see that number increase by 2.5%. So how many votes does that equate to? Well, apparently the activists in Johnston County need to find 1,369 more votes to carry Dan Forrest statewide in a gubernatorial race. Okay. The guest speaker for this evening was Justice Paul Newby. He's running for state Supreme Court. Talked a lot about history, and just, how Governor Roy Cooper broke like a 200-year tradition of appointing judges, because what happened was Mark Martin stepped down from the state Supreme Court to take a law professor job at Liberty University in Virginia Beach, and that left a spot open on the Supreme Court justice seat open. Okay. And the next person in line was Paul Newby, okay, and in back of him was a Democrat, and then back of him was Sherry Beasley, and Governor Cooper appointed Sherry Beasley. So not only did he stab Roy Cooper in the back, stab Cooper stabbing Cooper. That's funny. Not only did Roy Cooper stab Paul Newby in the back, but he also stabbed a member of his own party in the back when making this judicial appointment. Okay. Then we go to the business portion of the convention. 61 delegates attended, which I thought, in the courthouse, of course I was a guest, so I sit towards the back, but only half the room looked really full. But still, I was thinking, well, maybe there'll be 50 delegates here. And I was surprised that there were 61 there, which was great, especially for a Thursday night. Johnston has about 150,000 people or something like that. Fairly small county, and the quorum is 50%. Quorum was 31. That was not an issue at the meeting. Their delegate allotment is 193 for state convention. And I would say that when I look at their attendance numbers over the years of state convention, Johnston County is one of those counties where people work and they vote Republican. Okay, but as far as going to political events, they really don't do that. They work and then they go vote, but they don't really go to political events that much. Their attendance numbers are one of the weaker in the state for the state convention. But still, the fact that their attendance numbers are low for the party events, still though, and they vote reliable Republican, that's a testament to good, strong leadership, and that's a testament to why Darrell Mitchell was reelected chairman by acclamation. There was nobody else decided to run. There was no vote taken, but he got reelected. But it should be noted that starting next year in 2020, Johnston County has decided to have their own plan of organization. That'll be cool to see how that'll be implemented and what differences there might be between that and the state party. So stay tuned for that. But again, Daryl Mitchell was reelected. Kathy Birch was elected to the officer board. Michelle Brinson as treasurer. Lori Carroll, Tim Shipman, Max Rayner, Michelle Holger, who was incumbent, George Strickland in re-election as secretary. These were all elected by acclamation. No vote was taken. But the thing that one error I would say was made, okay, there's a motion made to have slates of candidates come forward. There's only one slate, and it was Daryl Mitchell. But then what should have happened was individual candidates. There should have been a motion made by somebody in the convention body to have individual candidates, have an opportunity to be nominated and voted on, but there was not. So that was one of Paul Holcomb's errors there. There was no parliamentarian. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Parliamentarian. There's no parliamentarian at this meeting. Then we had a time where we were members of the delegates were given the opportunity to nominate people that were absent from Thursday night's convention to have them be nominated as delegates to the district and state convention, as long as they pay their $2 fee. And a couple names were familiar. They were old friends of mine, Tom Goff and Dodie Renfer. These two individuals were on the District 7 Executive Committee. They served on the same committee that I did when I lived in Wilmington. Of course, they were in Johnston County and I was in New Hanover, but still saw them a lot when I was involved in the District 7 Executive Committee. And I hope next month I'll be voted on to the District 13 Executive Committee. I hope so. Okay. Now we have new business, and the new business, we had one resolution. It's on the sanctity of life, and the presenter of this was another old friend from District 7, Denise Rentz. Basically, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but a couple paragraphs. Whereas less than 1% of late-term abortions are necessary to preserve the life or health of the mother, and whereas less than 1.5% of abortions occur because of incest or rape, be it resolved that the Johnston County GOP strongly reaffirms our state platform position in Article 4 on the sanctity of life, paragraph 2. We oppose infanticide and urge the enactment of laws to require medical care for babies who survive abortions. Be it further resolved that the Johnston County GOP encourages and supports all efforts to restrict on-demand abortion, late-term abortion, and to protect the sanctity of life at all stages and ages. The source of this information was from the Guttmacher Institute, and that is, believe it or not, a research arm of Planned Parenthood. Yeah, so if a liberal wants to debate this, then they go right, say, oh, Guttmacher, oh, that's part of Planned Parenthood, oh. And then you just see them give that kind of stunned face, you know? But this resolution passed unanimously. Very happy to say that. And then we have kind of the chairman's report. I got to tell you, this is the first time that I met and I've been exposed to the leadership style of Daryl Mitchell. But I was very impressed by Daryl Mitchell. He's really the perfect age for a chairman. He's probably around 50, so he's not like old and out of touch like Brian Miller and Forsyth was, but he's also not one of these young kids who thinks they know everything, you know? But I think he can relate to really both the young and the old generations and factions in the GOP. He mentioned that they have 48,000 registered Republicans in Johnston County, and he says he really wants to build a wall at the Wake County border and have people that want to come to Johnston County pass a conservative test. That's a pretty cool thing. But during the course of the convention tonight, he recognized the teenage Republicans and the young Republicans. Not one time, but twice he asked teenage and TARs and the YRs to stand up. I thought that was really cool, because guess what? Young people, we millennials and the Y generation, we're the future of, this country and the government and the Republican Party. If not us, if we don't stand up, who is, and he also recognized there's a black man who came to the convention tonight as a guest, and he was an unaffiliated voter in Johnston County. And Chairman Mitchell asked the unaffiliated voter, why'd you come tonight as unaffiliated? He said, well, I'm just so sick of the crap that the Democrats are doing, So we'll see. Maybe we'll gain him as a Republican voter, hopefully. But, the honoring the TARs and the YRs and the unaffiliated voters, this was not done at the Forsyth County Republican Party. And this, the attitude was just so much more positive at Johnston County than it was at Forsyth. And it definitely makes me want to come back sometime, not necessarily for another convention, but maybe just for a meeting. So I definitely salute Daryl Mitchell and what he's doing in Johnston County. And yeah, keep up the good work there, Mr. Chairman. Well, for the Conservative Pelican, my name is Bobby Crawford. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. But for now, I'm going to take off. Bye-bye.